In 2023, ASUS released the Zephyrus G16, the successor to the beloved G15. The G15 was my personal laptop from 2021 all the way to 2023, and it was easily one of the best gaming laptops I had ever used. It was powerful, lightweight, had a good screen, and surprisingly good battery life. A gaming laptop without the usual trade-offs. Today, we are going to find out if the G16 lives up to its predecessor and why I think it should be in the hands of more people. Hey Earthling, welcome to my review of the ASUS Zephyrus G16. Before we proceed, do make sure to leave a like on the video and hit the subscribe button. To begin, here are the specifications on my particular G16 and how much it costs today. Right away, some of you would have noticed that it came with DDR4 instead of DDR5, which was a surprise to me, especially because it was paired with a 13th gen CPU and a 40 series GPU. However, the 32 gigs on my unit made it less of a problem. And if you're picking one up, I'd strongly recommend you go with the 32 gigs and above variant to avoid any memory issues. This laptop can be specced from an i7 all the way to an i9 and from a 4060 all the way to a 4070. But if you're looking for something more powerful, you'd have to look towards the M series or the more recent G series. The Zephyrus G16 has two screen options, the Quad HD plus 240Hz and the Full HD plus 165Hz option. The unit I have here is the Full HD plus option, which covers 100% of the sRGB color gamut and 71% of the Adobe RGB color gamut, with up to 304 nits of top brightness. The screen looks quite vibrant, colors pop, and it is really fast for gaming. Editing and content consumption also looks quite good on this. Some might argue that the resolution being Full HD Plus might lead to some blurriness in text. However, in my experience, it is good enough. And if you want sharper visuals and more color accuracy, you can easily go for the QHD Plus option, which offers that. But for most people, the Full HD Plus option would be more than enough. Now let's talk about its design. ASUS decided to reuse the chassis on the M16 from 2022, which is quite similar to the G15 from 2021. On the top lid, you have a series of perforated holes, which if held at the right angle, reveals a rainbow reflection, which I find pretty cool sometimes. But in my experience with the older G15, you can get things like sand or smaller stones stuck in those small perforated holes. It was not so much of a problem at the time, but just keep that in mind. The unit I have here with me comes in the Eclipse Grey color, but it also comes in a white color. The top is made of aluminium, while the bottom is made of some high quality plastic, which makes the whole entire laptop feel quite rigid with minimal flex. Overall also does a decent job of hiding fingerprints and smudges, but if you look quite closely, you can see that it does exist. I personally like the design that they went with because it's quite minimal, but let me know in the comments if you dig it or you're more of the gamer aesthetic vibe. This laptop weighs 2 kgs, approximately the same as a 2-liter Coke, and to me that's pretty light. This laptop comes with a 240 watts barrel plug charger from ASUS, which is a bit hefty. However, carrying this laptop's charger around frequently would not be anything to worry about due to how good the battery on this laptop is. More on that later. With this laptop, ASUS made very good use of almost every space available, making a 16-inch feel like a 15-inch with its perfect balance between size, portability, and performance. For reference, here is the ASUS Strix G16 next to the ASUS Zephyrus G16. Bear in mind that both are 16 inches. The hinge on this laptop is pretty good, and it has something which ASUS calls the ergo lift, which raises the intake vents of the laptop, allowing for more airflow into the fans, which in turn gives you better performance. Speaking of performance, this laptop is powered by an i7 13th gen and an RTX 4060 GPU, and here's what all that translates into. Here's also some gaming footage. It isn't the most spec'd out laptop by any means, but it handles almost anything you throw at it pretty respectably, be it gaming, video editing, or coding. And with Nvidia's DLSS, you are able to play most recent titles with decent visuals and frame rates. Please note that if you go with the higher screen option, you would have a bit less performance in games, because the laptop would have to work harder to render higher quality visuals. Overall, I think this is a pretty powerful laptop given its specifications and its smaller form factor. It does get quite warm during intense usage, but on the keyboard area, it does remain somewhat comfortable. Moving on, here is how much noise this laptop produces in its different power modes. Performance and turbo gets pretty loud, so I personally just keep it on balanced, which gives me a balance between noise and performance. This laptop comes with a total of 4 speakers, 2 tweeters and 2 woofers, and here's how they sound. The speakers sound quite rich with a bit of bass, especially when compared to an average Windows laptop speaker. Watching movie, playing games, or just listening to music are pretty enjoyable on these speakers. The keyboard on it feels pretty clicky with nice travels. It comes with a single zone RGB, which is decent, but doesn't include a numpad. I did enjoy gaming on it, and it was quite comfortable to type on. Overall, I'll say the keyboard experience on it was definitely A tier. However, the backlight is kinda mid, so I'd give that a C tier. The trackpad is located in the middle and is pretty large. It is made of glass and you get pretty good precision and accuracy on it. Clicking and swiping on it felt very snappy, and it is one of the better Windows trackpads out there. On the left, you have a barrel port for charging, an HDMI 2.1, an Ethernet port, a USB 3.2 Type A, a Thunderbolt 4 port, a USB 3.2 Type C, and a headphone microphone combo port. And on the right, you have a USB 3.2 Type A port and a micro SD card slot. The port selections on this laptop are quite solid, but the position might be a problem for some. The G16 has razor thin bezels housing a 720p webcam, which is just okay. Here's how the webcam looks, and this is how the mic sounds on the asus Zephyrus G16. It gets the job done for calls and meetings, but nothing special. This laptop comes with a 90 Wh/hour 4-cell battery, which was able to deliver roughly 10 hours consistently in video playbacks, and it was getting around 8 hours doing some light work. This came as a pleasant surprise to me because the older G15 ran an AMD CPU, which as we all know is usually more efficient as opposed to Intel chips. But Asus switching over to Intel and still being able to deliver this amount of battery life was quite nice, which is why it is really nice as a reviewer I get to test these things out for myself. In terms of upgradability, the G16 is definitely not the most robust. It comes with 2 replaceable SSD slots and a replaceable Wi-Fi card, but one of the RAM slots is soldered on board, meaning you can only change 1 stick of RAM, which means that you're always going to be limited by the speed of the RAM which is on board, and your RAM sizing is always going to be awkward. So here's my final thoughts. I do think that the Zephyrus G16 is a solid laptop which still holds pretty well. And for many years to come, I still think it will be a good laptop. Mainly because of its good screen, its keyboard, its trackpad, and its battery life. And no, it's not perfect because of its semi-soldered RAM, and its bottom which gets quite hot. But for most people, I can assure that your experience using this laptop would be overwhelmingly positive, which is why I believe that this laptop should be in the hands of more people, and also is the reason why I made this review. So if you plan on picking one up, do make sure to use my link in the description below. It supports the channel at no extra cost to you. Also, if you're in Nigeria, you can send me a mail to buy directly from me. Do not forget to like, comment and subscribe for more tech videos. See you in the next one. Which covers 100% of the SRB. Which cover... I never talk pots. I never talk pots. To avoid any memory